Blog Talk Radio.
It's time for Voice of Indie. Your hosts today are Beem Weeks, author, producer, and marketing monster for independent multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group, and Stephen Gies, author, producer, composer, and publisher for Fresh Ink Group.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the Voice of Indie podcast. I am your host tonight, Beem Weeks, and my co-host here is Stephen Gies. How you doing tonight, Stephen?
I'm doing great. How are you, Beem?
I'm doing fine. I just wanted to let everybody know we apologize for what happened last week as we started going on the air. I had an issue on my end that basically killed the studio, so there was no way to run the show. Don't know what it was. It's happened, once or twice before in the many years that I've used Blog Talk Radio. There's just a glitch there. So, but we're here tonight, and we're looking to have a good show.
We've got a couple of new members that have joined Fresh Ink Group in the past week that we want to throw out a welcome to. That's Bernard Fung. He's an old friend of both of ours, very prolific writer. And Mary Adler, who I understand is out in California. Mr. Weeks knows her better than I do, but welcome to Fresh Ink Group, Bernard and Mary. We're glad to have you aboard. Also, I want to mention that we have 2 new videos over on the Fresh Ink Group channel on YouTube. We did one for Jeannie Sharp's book, which is A Chance to Choose, Book 3 in the Second Chances series, Christian Romance. We got a video for it. Go over there and watch it, like it, and if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe. And we also have a new video for Robert G. Willis Croft's Icicle, which it's a little premature to have it up there because the audio book's not out yet, but it touts all of the different editions too. But today, we're giving away some books, aren't we, Beem?
We sure are. Why don't you tell us about the books, and I'll tell people how they can win them.
Okay, we're going to give away up to 5 copies of Dr. Helen Borel's American Agony. And Helen is our guest today, so we'll be talking to her about the book. But we're trying to increase some traffic to our Fresh Ink Group channel on YouTube. So if you're interested in winning a free copy of Helen's book, go on over to the YouTube channel. Go to Fresh Ink Group and look for the video, which is Helen's American Agony. If you'll leave a comment below that video, then next week when we get ready to do this show, we'll look and see if people left comments, and if they did, we'll randomly pick up to 5 to win books.
Yes, and basically what we're going to do after that would be pick those 5, leave a comment for you on connected to your comment on YouTube, and let you know that you're a winner. And you would then go to our, I believe is it the Contact Us page on the Fresh Ink Group site?
Yeah, there's a tab in the freshinkgroup.com site called Contact, and it's a form.
Yeah, and leave your email address there so that we can get in touch with you on how to get you your copy of the book. So it's quite simple. Just go over there and leave a comment. If you're a winner, we'll comment back and let you know, hey, you're a winner. I'll go over to the Contact Us page, and we'll get that book to you.
Now, I'm sitting here right now looking at a whole box full of those books. So, I mean, we get a whole bunch of comments on there. Maybe we give away more than 5. You never know what will happen. Things can get wild and crazy when you start commenting on YouTube. But anyway, people, we would like to try to get some more traffic. So if you help us spread the word, it's the YouTube channel called Fresh Ink Group. And
if you want to participate in tonight's show, you can go on to Twitter and use the hashtag Fresh Ink Group and leave a comment or a question. Or you can phone in at 516-453-9902. Once again, that is 516-453-9902, and we will try to get you on the air.
Now, we understand today, too, that some callers might want to use their name and some callers might want to remain anonymous. So when Mr. Weeks answers the phone, you'll have that choice.
Yes. So
Now today we're talking to Dr. Helen Borel, author of American Agony, The Opioid War on Patients in Pain. She's also the author of a children's book called The Hippocampus. But today we're going to mainly focus on her new book, American Agony. You got a commercial, Beem?
I do.
Managing pain with opioids is a science. Except politics, money, and overzealous law enforcement are denying American patients the relief they so desperately need. Demonizing the best pain reliever we have leads to needless suffering, even suicides, and it drives the rise in deadly street drugs. Helen Borel gathers and presents the evidence, the intimidation, the raids of clinics, the chilling effect on those very professionals we trust to care for our loved ones and ourselves. She looks hard at the Veterans Administration, Drug Enforcement Agency, Department of Justice, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Chapters include the Suboxone hoax, the wrong arms of the law, and the epidemic of death. Now in hardcover, softcover, and all e-book formats, American Agony is proudly published by Fresh Ink Group. Read American Agony now, or you might be the next one hurt.
And Dr. Helen Borel spent her childhood until age 17 writing poetry and playing piano as she grew up in 2 orphanages. She became a registered nurse, then earned a master's degree in creative writing. And after 18 years as a medical, psychiatric, and pharmaceutical copywriter on Medicine Avenue, I like that, she published books, literary criticism, satire, and short fiction. Later, she became a doctor in psychoanalytic studies with her own website, psycdocnyc.com. After publishing The Hippocampus, the interactive brain book, Fun Learning for Science Lovers, her playful pictorial tutorial for children about the brain, she was heartbroken to learn of millions suffering and hundreds suiciding because their opioids were no longer prescribed due to federal interference in physicians' pain care. After exhaustive research, she released American Agony, The Opioid War on Patients in Pain. Always outspoken for the underdog, her intense examination of this vital issue is the basis for her passionate expose of government wrongs and legal rights pain victims must assert. That was a mouthful. And welcome to the show, Dr. Helen. We are glad to have you here.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, now, first of all, tell us, why did you write American Agony?
Well, it started, I've been on Twitter tweeting, sometimes jokes, sometimes music, all of that. And I began to see patients in pain complaining they're not getting their meds. I thought it was terrible. Then I saw many things where drug companies that make opioids were being sued all over the place. I began to say, this is a complex subject. And then I saw many organizations about pain, professional and grassroots, and patients having to have organizations and marches when they really need to be in bed because I got angry as a nurse. I couldn't tolerate it. As a nurse and a medical writer, I thought it was my duty to write about this, to research it heavily, and to find out what was going on and to give some solutions. So
obviously, you're the ideal person to write this kind of a book. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where do you live? And I understand you're a practicing psychologist?
Not a psychologist, psychoanalyst. I don't have any training in psychology. I have training in registered nursing psychiatry as a nurse, but I have training in psychoanalysis in several institutes. And I've been doing that for about 25 years. And right now, by the way, because of the COVID, I do psychoanalysis on the phone. Patients, I'm kind of missing them,
Yeah, you're.
The point is, I felt duty bound, given my medical and writing background, that was the perfect storm, if you want to put it that way. I was like picked by the universe to write this book because of my background, and very angry at the patients being suffering and committing suicide. This is terrible. I'm still angry because, of course, the government hasn't backed down yet.
Yeah, that seems to be an issue, not just with the pain patients, but it also includes problems of pain care clinicians and big pharma manufacturers, and of prescription narcotics. Now, why is this?
Yes, I found that was one of the things. I thought it was going to be about against doctors and pro patients. I also thought I would write about drug addiction too, but then I realized there are plenty of books about that, but there was nothing for pain patients that was comprehensive. And also, I was distressed. I thought I might find 3 doctors in the country, maybe who are really criminals, running a pill mill. But I find there are hundreds of doctors in jail. This is impossible. In other words, they're jailing doctors that are writing normal pain medication prescriptions. Oh, by the way, I need to mention, I was a recovery room head nurse in those days when I was doing nursing before I did medical writing. And there is where I was dealing with pain when patients come out of the operating room. Now that room is called the ICU. In other words, very sick patients coming out of anesthesia that are just having the pain from the surgery they just had. So I'm very familiar with pain. One other thing, I also was burned as a child when I was 7, 3rd-degree burns. And I had to have some medication then. And also when I was 10, I had plastic surgery for those burns. And
so you
I think
pretty
I
much
got
know.
codeine because, so I know pain from as a person and as a nurse watching patients. By the way, our job as nurses and doctors, why did we go into these professions? Because we wanted to save people's lives or mitigate whatever illness they're suffering, try to make them feel better as long as they're here. Our job is not to cause them to continue to suffer. Pardon?
Yeah. It's a very laudable goal. That's what we need to be accomplishing.
Yes.
Well, how about
yes.
How about if we go? We got a couple of callers already lined up. Would you be interested in taking some calls? Okay, because a couple of them have been on hold for a while now. All right, here we go. We're going to take the first one. Hello, caller. You are on the air. State your name if you like, or stay anonymous. Hello, caller.
Hello,
Area
caller.
code 630.
Hi there. My name is Joe.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, I'm from Illinois.
Okay. Do you have a question or a comment for Dr. Borel?
Well, I'm just a really big fan of Dr. Borel. I've known her for a couple of years, and my mom grew up with a stroke. So I'm a therapist myself. I have 2 master's degrees, and I'm working on a doctorate. And I think Helen is just very brave. I know from having a mom as a stroke that, there's a certain sensitivity to certain ailments, and I think Helen's doing the profession, whether nursing or psychotherapy and many other ones, a very good service in today's world where there's a lot of numbing, in all sorts of arenas of life, whether politically or, with through medicine. So I just wanted to commend Helen for writing the book.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that.
Oh, anytime.
Okay.
Yeah, please help us spread the word, because this is a message that needs to get out there. And right now it's being overshadowed by the COVID crisis. But we got 2 medical crises going on in this country right now, and what's happening with opioids and the pressure on doctors is critical for a lot of people. Good comment, Joe. We appreciate you calling.
Thank you for calling, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Over on Twitter, we see that Bernard Fung has posted a placard and a promotion for his Harem Boys saga. He's showing book 1 here. There's 5 books now, isn't that right, Beem?
I do believe that's right.
I believe he's at 5. I know I've read up through 4, but I think the 5th one is out now. So take a look at that, and remember, #FreshInkGroup if you want to leave a comment or a note or a question or whatever.
Okay, we do have another caller, so we'll go ahead and take this one. And hello, caller. You are on the air with Dr. Helen Borel. You can state your name or remain anonymous if you choose. Area code 616. Yes, that's you.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon or evening. This is Chris from Detroit, Michigan.
Hi, Chris.
And honored to be here, and big fan of Dr. Borel. I became interested in this subject because I myself am a chronic pain patient. I am highly functional. I suffered a broken ankle back in '93, and I wound up with an ankle fusion with a nail that sort of looks like a railroad spike. And then I'm also a diabetic, and I got a bone infection. And long story short, it's I went to a pain clinic in Detroit, and I was getting some nerve blocks, and they were burning some nerves around the ankle, and it wasn't perfect, but I was functioning, and my quality of life was pretty good. I could provide for my family. And I was prescribed, I've learned a lot since this has all started, but I was prescribed fairly low-dose hydrocodone. Never abused it, never sold it, never have been diagnosed with any chemical dependency or substance abuse disorder. But the clinic that I was going to in Detroit was raided in December of 18, and I was given no notice. I saw the raid on TV. I read all sorts of horrible news reports about the clinic, and the description in the news media was 100% the opposite of my experience there. The Department of Justice and the DEA came in and raided the place. I haven't been able to get my records. I lost my doctors overnight. I don't know where they are.
Chris, because it's at the Department of Injustice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, those are confidential, private records.
Chris, your story is very similar to many of the stories that I've listed that patients sent me by email or by phone or by letter. Your story just falls into the same, everybody all around. That's why I had to do the book. All around the country, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
Can we hear some more of your story there, Chris?
Yeah, thank you. I felt violated. And, I'm not a dummy. I'm a functional member of society. I pay my taxes. I, raise my family. I'm a volunteer in the community.
Chris, you don't have to make excuses for your life. The government has to go to jail.
Here's what happened. Is I can't get my medical records.
Wait a second. Have you read the book at all? Because it covers all of this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
The DEA has to be eliminated. I have that in the book. Because
let's let Chris finish the story, Helen.
Okay, I'll make this.
Go ahead.
I started to go onto Twitter, and I got hooked up with some interesting pain patients and advocacy groups, and I bumped into Dr. Borel, and I saw her tweets about her book, and I ordered her book, and it was absolutely fantastic. I guess I just feel violated. I can't find any pain clinic to accept me. My primary care physician only wants to refer me to pain center. Now, the pain clinic I was going to in Warren, Michigan, was actually the only clinic that accepted Medicaid patients, and the Department of Justice tossed, from what I've read, 28,000 chronic pain patients out to the streets overnight. I don't know about anybody else, but I can't get my records, and they referred to us all as drug addicts. That was how they described us. So I've taken up an interest in this because I feel that this is wrong on so many different levels. Now, I don't consider myself in tractable pain, but I have chronic pain, and it gave me some quality of life and improved my functionality. But I know a lot of people just through meeting them on Twitter who are bedridden, and they can't find primary care doctors to prescribe for them. They can't find pain doctors to prescribe for them because there's an atmosphere of fear and dread. I was getting way beneath what the 2016 CDC guidelines recommended. From what I understand, 90 milligrams of morphine.
Listen, there are only two solutions, Chris. There are only two solutions, and they're both legal. One is change the laws, get the DEA out of this, and let them stay with illicits, not with medical opioids. And
right.
Patients have to do class actions and sue their doctors. Even though I'm sympathetic to the doctor, they have insurance companies that have to be sued, and the hospital they're connected with has plenty of money. They have to be sued. It's called respondeat superior. That's the legal term. They're responsible for the doctor that's refusing you care. That includes if you didn't get it. That includes if you're a sickle cell anemia patient and you have a crisis and you're entitled to morphine, and the emergency doctor won't give it to you, even though he's supposed to call a hematologist. You are
right.
entitled to that medicine, and you can sue the hospital, sue the ER, sue the doctor, and when they start getting it in the pocketbook, maybe they're going to stop doing this.
Well, I don't have
because
the resources to do all of that.
Pain patients are not addicts. And your story is similar to everyone else's. And there's another feature that, yes?
Helen, he raises a
real good question. So go ahead, Chris.
I just don't have the resources. I agree 100%. However, in the real world, I don't have the resources to do that.
Yeah, but there are organizations. Yeah, but there are organizations, and if you all get together, there are grassroots as well as medical professional organizations for pain patients and pain doctors. And if you all get together, and they're all over Twitter and everywhere, Facebook. If you all get together, you can do a class action. It doesn't cost anything, and how to do it is in the book.
Thank you. I raised Helen where I feel violated. I'm upset. I'm not a drug addict. And I had my doctor was ripped away from me. He was carted off to jail. I don't even know where those guys are now. But they were smeared in the media, and all of us, including myself, was referred to as drug addicts.
That. I mean, the same stories are in my book. That's why I was very angry. This is wrong.
Right. And I have your book, and I've learned a lot from your book. And
this
so
is
I've
called
taken an interest.
medical malpractice, when you're not giving the right. And the other thing to consider is this: when they're using the implants and whatever else, electrical stimuli or inserting medication into the spine, whatever they're doing, all of those companies are making money on that. Why are they diverting it to that? And the other thing, of course, is the Suboxone hoax. That's a whole chapter in the book. They're trying to convert pain patients into calling them addicts and putting them, because they've saturated the addict market for the Suboxone. You understand? So really, it's about coming down hard on the VA, the DEA, and the DOJ.
Right.
The Congress really has to investigate them.
I appreciate your efforts and you speaking out and giving, and articulating this, because there are a lot of us out there. I'm doing okay. My functionality is still pretty good. I'm in my early 50s. I was doing better with pain management, injections, and like a muscle relaxer and a low dose pain medication, but all of that was taken away from me. And I have no recourse. And my primary care doctor won't prescribe, and there's no other options for many, many people like me in the Metro Detroit area. I know of 4 or 5 different ways.
Chris, I was hoping my book would be a conduit to change. All legislators should have it, state and federal and local. Doctors and doctors' organizations, and there are plenty of pain organizations, both for physicians and grassroots for pain patients. They should use this as a Bible to prove your point. There are 237 references, and there are ways to sue. And
it's been highly educational.
Let me just mention that if you do a class action, there is no cost because the lawyer doesn't charge you unless they win the case.
Right.
So it's a matter of, and we have more. This is the biggest class action. It's 50 million pain patients.
Yeah. Well,
so
anyway,
the people who started, let's say 5 people started, you will get some kind of extra payment out of that for being the leader. But somebody has to go to a lawyer. There are some lawyers gathering information, trying to do this, but it requires people not just have an organization, but to actually do some, the class actions have to take place. But I'm sure you can sue state and federal government, and there's a chapter in there about that.
Okay.
Read that.
Do you have any other comments there, Chris?
Yes, I'd just like to thank everybody for the opportunity. It's an honor to speak with you, Dr. Borel. Your book is highly educational.
It's my pleasure. I just hope the book can get you your medicine.
I never thought I would be, I'm not really technically an advocate, but I'm interested in this subject because, like I said, I feel violated. And I didn't do anything wrong.
This is called medical malpractice.
Right. Okay.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Even if you like the doctors, they have to be sued for abandoning you.
Thank you for calling in, Chris. We appreciate that.
Okay.
Thanks,
yes,
Chris.
Thank
we appreciate it.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Check over here on Twitter and see if we got anything going on. Yeah, okay. Verwayne Greenhow has, he threw out a tweet. He says, I was a paramedic for 12 years and then an ERRN for another 26 years. I ran into problems with people who had their meds abruptly interrupted, who went on to live lives of crime. My wife had severe problems with pain and I couldn't get her treated. It hurt to watch it. Well, thank you for sharing that, Verwayne. That's, a personal thing, and it seems to be the common thing these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe he lost his wife, too. That was a
yes, she did.
sad, unfortunate situation. Thanks for tweeting today, Verwayne. We'd like to have Mr. Greenhow on as a guest on our show sometime in the future.
Yep.
Okay, we need to take a quick break now and run a commercial. So we're going to tell you a little bit about a book by Fresh Ink Group author Vladimir Kalixty, who, like Dr. Helen Borel, is a licensed therapist in Manhattan, New York City. She's also a motivational coach and a speaker. And if you go to the YouTube Fresh Ink Group channel, you can watch the video of this commercial. But for now, Mr. Beam's going to roll the audio for you.
Do you feel lost or broken? Are you trapped by fear, loneliness, and heartache, but unable to see a way out? Are you unhappy in your relationships and without a solution to make things right? I'm Vladimir Kalixty, a therapist in New York City who helps others all around the world to live and love from a place of emotional freedom. If you're searching for answers to all your struggles, my book, Naked and Transparent, 6 Vital Tools for Knowing Yourself and Attracting Healthy Relationships, can help you reclaim your life and attract more love, success, peace, and joy than you've ever imagined. Filled with personal experiences about love, loss, abandonment, Naked goes beyond a traditional self-help book. Part workbook and part memoir, Naked is an enjoyable yet informative must-read for women, men, and teens who suffer from low self-esteem, feelings of unworthiness, anxiety, shame, guilt, failure, and toxic relationships. It is a refreshing, honest, and stimulating experience that will help you open your heart and soul and discover a brand new you. Naked and Transparent is available in hardcover, softcover, and all ebook editions from Kindle to Nook and Kobo and more. You too can grow personally, spiritually, emotionally, and professionally to redefine who you are from the inside out. Naked and Transparent, 6 Vital Tools for Knowing Yourself and Attracting Healthy Relationships is proudly published by Fresh Ink Group.
All right.
Terrific. That was Vladimir herself narrating her own commercial. That's what she sounds like. And it's we're proud to have Vladimir as a Fresh Ink Group author, and we highly recommend her book, Naked and Transparent.
Okay, Dr. Helen, just a little while ago when you were on with Chris, you mentioned the VA. Now, in your book,
Yes.
you dispute that veteran suicides are mainly due to PTSD. Would you care to explain that?
The VA says they're mainly due to PTSD, but they're lying. Before the CDC, which everyone knows who's listening, the CDC 2016 guideline for opioid use, like they're telling doctors who graduated medical school how to prescribe. Before that 2016, the VA, several years before, has been denying opioids to veterans with double amputees, part of their face missing, all kinds of terrible post-war injuries. War injuries, and later older vets that need opioids for their conditions. And they've been intimidating the VA doctors. Those are the doctors, they're career MDs with the VA. And if they write opioid prescriptions, they're going to be fired. So, in fact, I think it's mentioned in my book that some nurses have seen tears in the doctor's eyes when they have to turn away a veteran who's entitled to an opioid. So those suicides are due to lack of pain control, not due to PTSD. So the VA has been lying.
That's shameful. It really is.
It's terrible because, first of all, one thing is real important that everybody should know. There are only two symptoms to worry about with opioids, and we don't have to worry because they're easily handled. One is constipation, and that you can give milk of magnesia or castor oil or something like that, mineral oil. That happens sometimes. The other is, in the hospital, we're concerned as nurses, it lowers the breath. Normal breath is anywhere between 18 and 24 or 22 breaths per minute. Sometimes it goes to 16 or 14. Then we're worried if it gets to 14. That's why we space the dosages between several hours, 4 or 6 hours. That's carefully taken. People who are not addicts do this carefully. So those are the only two symptoms. There are no other. There's no reason, in other words, to deny patients this painkiller.
Okay. Stephen, you have a question for Dr. Helen?
So why in your book then do you also go after drug companies? They're not the ones who are prescribing or withholding. They're the ones that are just making the drugs.
Yes, not only that, they've done the research, and they're trying to find, of course, drug companies are always doing research to find the best form of a chemical with the least possible negative side effects. So they're always trying to better them. And many of the opioids are not as strong as others. For example, Percodan isn't as strong as morphine. So we have gradations and also patients have different metabolisms. So some require higher dosages, not because they're drug addicts, but that's the way their metabolic system works. Doctors know this. We don't need government police of the DEA or government lawyers of the DOJ telling doctors how much to prescribe, and that's what they're doing. It's just simply a crime what the government is doing.
It sounds like it. It sounds like they do not have the people's best interest, and it makes me wonder what's really underneath there.
Yeah, what I was saying, the drug companies, they often are sued because of advertising. Well, every product or service is advertised. There's no law against that. And the FDA overlooks drug production, as you know, with COVID and that vaccine, and overlooks all of the research before they approve a drug, all the clinical trials, all the safety trials. They look over that, and if something is wrong, even once they've marketed a drug, they pull it from the market. And if something is wrong that's said in an ad, they will pull it. But that doesn't stop the DOJ from suing them anyway. And having all these, they haven't done anything wrong. It's okay to advertise a product, that it relieves pain.
Yeah, well, it looks like...
The only thing I can say that they do that is a bit hard is we all pay taxes at the National Institutes of Health for all the basic research, the results are given free for the drug companies so they can do their research on their drugs for those diseases. they charge us too much. That I'm concerned about. But I'm not concerned about them advertising their products. And that's what they're sued for advertising.
Okay. Listeners, if you would like to join the conversation, you can call in and speak with Dr. Borel. That number is 516-453-9902. Once again, that is 516-453-9902.
And over on Twitter, use hashtag #FreshInkGroup. And we're both monitoring Twitter right now. If you want to send a message, a question, just leave a comment or whatever. We'll notice it and mention it on the air.
Yeah, where are all my people that said that they would be coming? Some people I know on Twitter.
Well, we still got a half an hour to go. Yeah, we got 25 minutes left. So, Dr. Borel, as a practical matter, how do you intend this book to be used to impact this issue that medical practice can return to normal opioid prescribing that was common before the government intrusions, you report?
Well, I hope that physicians would look at the references to find justification for a position. Patients can look at all the possible legal actions they can take. Then there are many organizations in the resources people can join, whether they're some people are doctors and pain patients simultaneously. So they can join. There are grassroots organizations that are working. They're working with legislators. They're trying to get the CDC to back down and do. There's so much going on, but nobody's listening. Nobody seems to have empathy for patients, but it's all in the book.
Well, I think the lack of empathy is because, a lot of people who are not pain patients or who do not take any kind of pain medication, they get the idea that these are just a bunch of drug addicts and they're all waiting in line to get their pills from their doctors so they can go off and get high. And having read your book, I know that this is far from the truth.
They got that idea.
Oh, that's from the government. I see that. You see the propaganda out there.
But who's spreading that? I call it opioid hysteria, and everybody's using that word now. Opioid hysteria is caused by the journalists who are not doing their basic research. So they're promulgating all this stuff and whipping it up instead of telling the truth.
Yeah, just the very phrase opioid crisis stirs up a whole bunch of expectations, preconceived notions, and false assumptions by a lot of people. Unfortunately, it is a headline, a common headline.
Yeah.
Do you think what you're...
Yes, go ahead.
Helen, do you think what you're trying to accomplish is realistic? I mean, do you have a shot at making some change here?
I think it's realistic. I think I'm sure I'm not the only nurse that feels this way or the only doctor. The only thing is maybe I'm not going to say that it's true, but doctors may feel they have more to lose because they have an entire practice and they have some employees and all of that. And the government takes away the patient's records, the doctor's assets from his practice, plus his personal assets. So his family has no money to eat on. I mean, this is what the government does.
Well, my question is, how can they take the patient's records? These are supposed to be confidential records between the doctor and the patient. How does the government
HIPAA protected?
You're right. I just that in the book.
They just kind of wedge themselves in there and walk all over, people.
Well, here's a very strange situation that you may want to know about. Remember, buprenorphine is the morphine that's in Suboxone, which is supposed to treat addicts, but it's actually a morphine.
Wow.
They have to, all of the DEA looks at all the patient's records, and it's called the PDMP, the drug records of the patient. And everybody's allowed to look at it, even though it's supposed to be confidential. They have to list all opioids, whether it's Demerol, morphine, hydrocodone, whatever it may be. Guess what they don't have to list? It's against the law for them to list it. Buprenorphine. amorphine.
Ah.
They're forbidden to list it. It's being sold. Now, remember, I'm not against the pharmaceutical company that makes it, which I think is Purdue. Or it's not Purdue, it's Indivior, Remdesivir. Not Remdesivir, I mean, Reckitt Benckiser and Indivior. That drug is called the legal morphine.
The legal.
I didn't know that.
The whole thing is nonsense because you're not allowed to list a morphine. Well, you must list all the other morphine. Many of, by the way, the opioids. Many of the other opioids are much milder than morphine and Demerol. The hydrocodone and the Percodan, they're not as strong as morphine and Demerol and Dilaudid that we use in the hospital.
Boy, Dilaudid,
so the
strong
people
stuff.
Are not getting they're not getting dosages like they would get, which you can't even fathom what the dosages actually are, whether they're accurate in the street. Those are contaminated. Those are not necessarily carefully measured, you know? That's why people are dying.
That's like the fentanyl overdoses, too.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, they're all contaminated.
By the way, the fentanyl that's used medically, it's always a dermal patch or a lollipop because it has to be absorbed slowly because you would kill you, rapid absorption. Well, in the street, they give it to them orally in a pill. They're dropping dead. And they also add it to heroin.
Wow.
Fentanylized heroin, I'll call it. I made up the word fentanylized. But it's not the same as medicinal fentanyl that can only be used as a dermal patch that slowly absorbs or a lollipop slowly absorbed.
Yeah, I believe it was fentanyl was what ended up killing Prince and killing Tom Petty, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I thought Petty was a heart attack.
No, he was a pain patient. He had broken a hip, and he was using something, and he got, I believe it was fentanyl in there. And they originally thought it was a heart attack, but after the autopsy, they realized that it was fentanyl.
Yeah, and Prince, they definitely said was fentanyl.
Yeah.
So Helen, you've got a good book here, and you've raised a lot of very important issues. What about this book, American Agony, would you most like to stand out?
Well, first of all, the injustice of maltreating, I call it like a medical holocaust against patients, causing suicide. There's a suicide epidemic of pain patients being undertreated or cold turkeyed, you know. The other thing that stands out is there are solutions at the end of the book where there are legal actions people can take, and there are organizations to join and hopefully you can use the book as some kind of a compendium, a Bible, when people are at their meetings. And some people are giving them to their physicians. And I think they need to be given to lawyers and legislators, the book. It's meant to educate people. Because what made me write the book is seeing cases here and there, and they were piling up in my mind. I wanted to show that it was millions of people affected and suffering.
So it's a call to action for readers to step up and do something about it. Go out and spread the word, contact people, get your opinions out there known. And in the book, you give some very practical advice on how to do that, which one of my favorite parts of the book.
Yes. So that's what I was hoping it would be like a call to action. And what
are you seeing on this level? How is the book being received? And are you seeing people starting to answer this call?
Well, people who have read it find that it's very helpful, including doctors who are also pain patients who have the book. Some of them, they can't practice, they're in pain, and they also can't get their medication. That's really strange, you know? And I don't know. I'm hoping some patients have bought a book also for their own doctors I just think lawyers should all have it.
Yeah.
I believe some pain.
My feedback has been that the people feel that they have someone in their corner that wants to fight for them, and the words are in there for them to use.
I believe some pain patient advocacy organizations have also picked it up. Is that right?
Yes, there are plenty of those listed in the book. And another benefit of the book is there are many, many, many websites and URLs that one can connect with that are in every chapter. But also, if you happen to get the Kindle version, you can access those right away, immediately.
I know that as I shared the link to the book on Twitter, I've been contacted many times from people who have purchased the book, and they basically said it's a much needed it's almost a lifesaver to them because they realize that they're not.
Yeah, I put my heart in it, but there is one other thing two other things that came toward the end of the writing because the research was just appearing at that point. There hadn't been much written about it. Pediatric. There are some children that have, like I did, was burned as a child, that have bad illnesses with pain. They were denying those kids, if they've been burned or severely injured or have some painful disease, they're denying them their opioids. And by the way, pediatric doses are lower than adult dosages. And also they're denying their cat and your dog who's had surgery opioid because they're telling the vets the owners might take the pet's meds, which is crazy.
No, I've seen cats on street corners selling drugs. Come on.
So they're frightening.
I mean, you can't trust those cats.
But listen to this. But they're frightening veterinary doctors too.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's just ridiculous. And the assumption there is, if you prescribe drugs for an animal, then the animal's owner will take those drugs instead or go sell them. Is that what the assumption is?
Yes, but now here's one other thing that I came across. I was in the middle of writing the book. I mean, it was toward the end. We have this new Surgeon General. I call him a Scourgeon General. He's a young black doctor, and I'm sure he's an excellent physician. But guess what he came out with? If you have surgery, you can take Tylenol after.
Oh,
now, Tylenol does not have the strength of Clopidogrel or morphine or Demerol. It's just not codeine. It's just not what we give post-op. It's terrible. And so I wrote one of my tweets once. I said, well, I hope he has a hemorrhoidectomy, and they put the Tylenol there.
Yeah, Tylenol is not going to do.
Work.
That's not going to do anything for you.
Let me tell you guys, when I was a recovery room head nurse, one time a patient had a hemorrhoidectomy. And guess what he said? I was this young nurse, innocent, I'm standing by his bedside.
What did he say?
Nurse, this operation is a pain in my...
Yeah, I get the point.
And the point is, I wouldn't give him Tylenol or aspirin, but I'm sure the doctor ordered an opioid. And I'm sure I gave it to him.
Okay, well, we are down to about 11 minutes remaining on the program. We would like to talk about...
time to play the hippocampus.
Hippocampus? All right.
Yeah, we got a roll in for it. So, Helen, we're going to talk about your other book for a minute.
The Children's Brain Book.
All right, let's throw the commercial out here.
Think of your brain as a place to learn, like school. Turns out, the hippocampus is really one part of your brain that helps you make and save memories. The hippocampus, the interactive brain book, fun learning for science lovers, uses hippos to teach young readers all about different parts of the human brain. From keeping the heart beating and blood flowing to breathing and dreaming, your brain does many things for you, even when you don't think about it. This includes sneezing, sleeping, running, playing, and even digesting that meal you ate for lunch. But think about this. Without your brain, you couldn't smile or laugh or wink or read. The hippocampus helps you decide what's happening and what to remember right now. The Hippocampus by Helen Borel, Ph.D., offers young thinkers and readers of all ages an easy way to learn all about that gray matter that matters most. Available in hardcover, softcover, and ebook editions, the Hippocampus helps us learn about our place to remember. The Hippocampus is proudly published by Fresh Ink Group.
Well, from a book about opioid addiction to a children's book, why choose to learn about the brain?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, you're the guest.
You're the one who wrote it.
No, what I wanted to do was have some humor, because much brain books for children would be like cartoonish showings of the brain, and what I wanted to do was have children learn how to pronounce the words, cerebrum, cerebellum, things like that. Find out about the new thing called the mirror neurons. Show CAT scans and PET scans of the brain. Talk about the brain on music, and a brain that's maybe sick, and showing just a very nice way of learning how to pronounce neurological words. There's also a poem in there. There's a poem in the other one, too, which is a memorial poem. There's a poem in here that's set to the music of Beethoven's Ode to Joy, and it's about your brain. I just thought children would like to learn how to pronounce those words, so that's what I did carefully. It was very hard, because very sophisticated words, how do you turn that into words for an 8-year-old? But many people who are adults like the book, even adult scientists.
Good. Well, the book is beautifully illustrated. It was both the cover and the interior illustrations were done by our Fresh Ink Group staff artist, Anik, and I thought he did a beautiful job. What were you trying to accomplish with the illustrations, Helen?
I guess I wanted people to think of something that seemed like a very serious and a difficult subject to make it easier and fun to learn. And I also thought kids that might be interested in science, neuroscience is a big thing, and I want them to see it could be fun and interesting. And words, for a wordsmith, for a writer, they're like, feels good on your tongue, certain words. I think the brain is a magical place. As a writer, I think there's a creative place. So I just wanted to show it in a different way, not cartoony, but the real portions of the brain, however easily illustrated for children to understand. But also
I learned a lot too.
Yeah.
I learned a lot reading that book. So it's not just for children to understand. Has the book been received well? You getting good feedback for it?
Yes, but I do think that it needs to be introduced to schools. I think schools, their science classes could use it.
Yeah, I agree with that, definitely.
And
I have a
question. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if it's introduced...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
If it's introduced to schools, what grade levels are we talking about?
Well, first of all, I think 8 to 12 would be good. But I also think it's for adults, like a college person that's interested in medicine. This is a very good beginning to learn a lot about the brain.
It's almost ageless, except for the our illustrations, obviously, with the hippos.
There's something new in there that was never anywhere that anybody, because it was relatively new. A psychiatrist who became an experimental scientist discovered what you call mirror neurons. So we have that in there, and it's illustrated by Stephen's artist. And when you watch a tennis player, your PET scan shows the same exact color and depth of color, and in the same exact places in the brain as the player of the tennis, as though you were playing, but you're just sitting and watching. This is an amazing fact that I don't think is in any other children's book, and I don't even know if it's any adult book, because it's
I've never seen it anywhere.
it's a relatively new discovery that you have mirror neurons. So I thought if we can watch somebody exercising, we don't have to exercise. The brain is getting the message, right?
It is.
So, but anyway, the book, yeah.
Okay, that's The Hippocampus by Helen Borel, PhD, The Hippocampus. And it's targeted at children, but teens and adults. I mean, I enjoyed the book, and I learned quite a bit from it, too.
Yes.
Yeah, but also there's one other thing. It tells you brain food, what good food to eat.
Yes, it does. I like that. Yes.
And
now I have one
as well.
I have one real quick question for you as our minutes run down here, Helen. You're related to a famous author?
Pardon?
Are you related to a famous author?
Oh, yes. I found that out. When I was in advertising, my aunt, who is my sister of my father, told me, we have a cousin. It's my father's second cousin called Arthur Miller, the playwright of Death of a Salesman.
Wow, Arthur Miller.
I didn't know that, so I'm already an accomplished writer.
Okay, why are we talking to you if we know Arthur Miller?
Because he's gone.
But it also explains why my son became an actor, you know?
Uh-huh.
He was an actor from a very young age. And then my grandson also started acting and song and dancing. And so I think it's in the genes. Although I never met him, sorely, but I do think he's a great playwright.
So then you were related to Marilyn Monroe through marriage.
There you go. Wow.
Now, we got about 3 minutes left. So a couple of quick things. Where can people find you? Where can they contact you, Dr. Helen? Social media?
Want an email?
No, you can just throw out your social media, your Twitter account, your website.
Or they can send a message to Fresh Ink Group and we'll forward it.
At Borel Med Writer.
There you go, Borel Med Writer.
At Borel Med Writer.
Okay.
Uppercase B, everything else is lowercase. At Borel Med Writer.
Okay. Thank you. And we want to remind the listeners, please go to YouTube and search the Fresh Ink Group channel. Look for the video American Agony, Dr. Helen Borel, we've been talking to today. And please like it. Please subscribe to our channel, but especially leave a comment down in the comments below, and you could win a free copy of Dr. Helen's book.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
about time to sign off, Beem.
That's again, just leave that comment, and we will. If you're picked to be a winner, we'll leave a comment for you to get with us at our Contact Us page. And if you also want to send a message to Dr. Helen, you can go to info@freshinkgroup.com, info@freshinkgroup.com, and we will certainly forward that to Dr. Helen. And,
so thanks for joining us today, Dr. Helen. We're about out of time here. We want to remind our listeners next Wednesday at the same time, our guest will be Mark Marlowe, author of Operation Counterpunch. So we'll see Mark Marlowe next week. Beem?
And
can I say thank you to the people who showed up, who listened?
Yeah,
who there you go.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
And thank you, Helen.
Thank you for being our guest tonight, Dr. Helen. We appreciate that, and hopefully this gets more people turned into your book, and it becomes a movement, so to speak. And Stephen, always good to have you on, and we will talk to you again next week as well.
We'll see you next week.
Okay.
You've been a part of Voice of Indy, a production of Fresh Ink Group. Spread the word, support our guests, then find us at freshinkgroup.com and be sure to hashtag Fresh Ink Group.